This is Free Discourse Radio with Frank Davey. So this video is going to be about the Paris Climate Accord since President Trump has taken us out of it. And I am here to tell everyone that the world is not going to end. And I want to explain that. And hopefully people can be a little bit more at ease about this whole thing and maybe think about giving it a chance. Now, right off the bat, I just want to say I'm not a climate changer, a climate change denier. I definitely think it's happening. I'm not here to debunk that, but I want to talk about specifically the accord itself and the deal and what it will do and what it will actually do and what people think it's supposed to do. So, going over the basic concept here, the accord goals were to keep global temperatures well below 2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels by the year 2100. Pursue efforts to limit temperature increase even further to 1.5 degrees Celsius over time. That's basically referring to the fact that countries want to renegotiate as we go and continue to monitor each other and review each other, making sure that we're both staying on pace with keeping the emissions down and also possibly looking to gradually increase our cuts. Also, they want to limit the greenhouse gases that are emitted by human activity and review each country's contribution to that every 5 years. Also, there's going to be a climate finance system that's going to be started by the UN. It's going to be like a green climate fund where first world nations will invest in this fund, and that wealth will be redistributed to certain third world nations to invest in green energy in their nations, respectively. So that's like the basic goals of the Climate Accord. So now I want to go over more of the based on UN numbers and everything, what exactly is supposed to be expected by the year 2100 with this. So, using the UN numbers, and I'm on radio here, so I can't show you graphs or anything, so I'll try to explain this as best I can. Using the UN numbers, temperature reduction will only be about 0.023 degrees Fahrenheit over the course of the century. And this is if countries stay on board with this past 2030 and continue to maintain their cuts and even improving it. So it's a pretty liberal number, if you want to say. So this whole thing was supposed to reduce carbon emissions. It's supposed to be a non-binding agreement, even though since the U.S. is being taken out of it, we still have to wait 3 years because we're bound to it for 3 years until we can leave. So I don't know what that means, but it's going to cost us. It's going to cost people $100 trillion for only 0.3 of 1 degree Fahrenheit reduction. And this green climate fund is set to be mostly funded by the United States taxpayer, and this is going to cost about $100 billion a year. And most of that is coming from the U.S. So U.S. taxpayers will be forced to pay most of this fund that's going to be redistributed to third world nations. And of course, this comes at a cost for all of us. So before I get to the costs here, I just want to go over a few more details. So President Obama, at the end of his tenure, he mentioned that the deal would be the largest investment in green energy ever. But he doesn't necessarily talk about how the investments are not actually going to be made in the first world. These investments are going to be abroad and in the third world, where we don't exactly know where this money will be going to and how it will be used by these nations' leaders. So, that being said, I want to go over, because a lot of people are freaking out and they're losing their shit over this. And they think it's pretty much the worst thing ever. The U.S. has lapsed on its responsibilities, quote unquote, to the world. And of course, world leaders in Europe like Macron and Angela Merkel, they're flipping their lids on us and continuing the shit talk campaign of Donald Trump and in his administration. Not to say that there aren't things to criticize. I'm just saying that there's a little bit of an aggression and tension now, which I don't think is very justified, considering the fact that they were asking us to front most of the bill from American taxpayers. So what I want to say here next is go on to how what this would exactly cost the U.S. and if we were to go through with it. And just as I'm about to do that, remember, this is going to cost the world about $100 trillion over the long run. So the U.S. promises to cut greenhouse gases by 28%. What this will do to the economy, it'll cost the United States about $150 billion in GDP per year. And that money will be going to places like the Green Climate Fund and whatever other investment services that will be started by the UN. 6 million U.S. jobs will be lost because the industries will be leaving. The green energy investments that could be used here will not be used here. They will be used abroad in third world nations. So that's 6 million U.S. jobs that will not only be will be lost or cut in the present. There will be an increase in cost of electricity in the U.S. by about 30% because we will have to make sacrifices without the further investment in green energy here. So this whole thing, including if we bring together like the world and our contribution to this, it'll only postpone climate change by about 8 months to 4 years, depending on the number you look at. If we're looking at a more, not really conservative, more of the UN, what the UN is saying, the temperature reduction will be about 0.023 degree Fahrenheit by 2100. And if countries come together and they gradually increase their cuts as they go, it'll be about 0.057 degree Fahrenheit. That's all we'll get with the reduction after investing about $100 trillion into it. Now, there is nothing that is saying right now that that countries like, maybe China or India or us or anyone else, and in the third world, of course, who have to, the aim of this climate accord is to invest in them. There's no telling whether or not they're going to stay on this, and whether or not they're going to continue to, if they're going to play ball with the climate accord, or if they're just going to take that money and invest it in in industries that will cost less for them to make energy, in order to gain an upper hand in if there's a war going on, or if there's some kind of political tension, which could happen anytime in some of these countries. So, basically we're being asked to invest a lot in it, and not getting much in return besides a small decrease in global temperature. So. Again, I'm not trying to argue that climate change isn't happening. I think we do need to invest in green energy, but I want to get to the point now where why the world isn't going to end, and why some people on the left should maybe start to think of this a little less dogmatically, if you want to put it that way. Everyone's kind of just listening to the dogma and to what people flipping their lids in the media, as irresponsible as they are in reporting this. So I want to try and bring some rationality to this discussion, if I will. So the reason why this isn't the worst thing is, first of all, it is not the United States is not declaring that we are not going to become greener in the future, and we are not going to commit to creating a greener planet and reducing carbon emissions, doing what we have to do, doing what we can do to decrease our contribution to changing the environment. So one thing that people forget a lot is the fact that the United States is actually well ahead in this regard compared to other large nations like China, who are not set to invest as much as we are in this. The U.S. has done its part for the most in trying to make it, and not to say that we can't improve, but we haven't been resistant to reducing our carbon emissions, and we've been open to the idea of investing in green energy. The reason why Donald Trump wants to take us out here of this Paris Agreement is because it does not benefit U.S. businesses and U.S. industries. we have to sacrifice a lot to our GDP, and I don't think that any one of the leftists seriously consider these costs because it's a pretty large cost. $150 billion out of our GDP is not a small amount of money. And who knows when the next recession will be, or the next, this could have implications of us that we're not even predicting. We're predicting how this small change in carbon emissions will be if countries actually improve on what they're doing already. But no one is talking about the cost to any of this and what it'll sacrifice. So I'm here to do that, and I want to try and just cool heads a little bit and let people know that the world isn't going to end because of us leaving out of it. I know it seems like a lie. It seems like a big thing we're pulling out of an agreement that most of the world is agreeing with and going it alone. Now that alone can bring, if the media isn't responsible with the way they cover this, that can make people act out over the edge, basically over the top, in where we could actually look at this comprehensively and say that the U.S. economy can still can benefit at the same time as us becoming more greener. So if we were to if we were to get out, we are leaving the climate accord. So since we're leaving, we will be able to reinvest that money into the economy, into our economy, which will then lead to us being able to build the green industry here even more than it already is built. And I do think we need to build it a lot more. I think it's a good. We could become very independent with energy if we look into more things like, say, fracking, for example. I'm pretty sure it's been debunked that fracking causes earthquakes all over the place and this and that. That's helping us become a lot more energy independent than we are now. And President Trump, I believe that he has a long-term plan over his tenure as president to move us more towards energy independence, which I think it would be a phenomenal thing. I don't think anyone's considering the perks that that could come from that. We could become green and energy independent at the same time. Other countries are already on their way of doing it, or have already done it. So I don't see why we can't do it at the same time. I don't. I would rather see us go it alone rather than give a lot of money to over the course of the century. Give a shitload of money to third world nations that don't have the same kind of regulations environmentally that we do. This money, the production and the wealth that we send to the third world will go to countries with less environmental regulations, and into governments that don't control what goes into the groundwater or into the air. They have no regulations, not like us. And it'll also go to some dictators who hold the nation's wealth and economic opportunity from their people. So again, this would be like foreign aid, where it goes to where this money goes out to people who are running the country, and they keep all the wealth for themselves, and they don't let it trickle down into not only handing out aid, but also allowing smaller economies to develop and move more towards joining the first world. This climate deal isn't gonna help that happen. It's not gonna allow. It's not going to allow the third world to create their own industries. Instead, they'll be receiving handouts from the Europeans. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a role for us to play and that we can't help the third world. I think we should, but sacrificing all this wealth for such a small amount of change, I think, is just not a realistic thing. I don't see, and no one will talk about this. It's basically. It's basically just a thing that people are building a cult around, saying that if we don't do it, then first of all you're a dumbass because you're a climate denier. Even though most of the people that oppose the deal, the very few that do, are not trying to deny climate change. So they're just trying to say that they'd rather see taxpayer money go from U.S. industries. Prevent U.S. wealth from going to third world nations and to dictators, and rather be invested here. The U.S. can still be green. We're still going to go that way. No one's stopping that. And I think everyone just needs to chill out and just look at the details in an objective way. Thanks. You listen to Free Discourse Radio.